hard to do what I gotta do without disturbing her. All right, I think that's good. Okay, I'm Amanda with M.A.K.E Nevada, working on my M.A.K.E Alaska as well. And we are going through Northwestern University's free online nonprofit course. We are in the section for risks. And at some point, when I update the description, I will add the link so that you can do the online course yourself. And I will add the link to this video because this one will be much better quality than this one. And then you might see Smooshy. You can see your head right here. Smooshy says hi. Thanks for being here. Ugh. 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 Okay, here we go. All right, we got the smoosherator. All right, here we go. Hello, Amanda with M.A.K.E Alaska and M.A.K.E Nevada, working on our free online course about nonprofits through Northwestern University. And we are in the risks section. We're watching the videos, working our way through. Here we go. 4 videos. Objective: recognize the key financial risks board members should be aware of. Identify other areas of risk relevant to boards in the nonprofit sector, including cyber risk, human resources risk, and brand risk. Hadn't really thought of any of these. What every board member should know: financial risk. Explore the 2 critical components of financial risk that every board member needs to be aware of: fraud and financial mismanagement. I have a fun story about that. On my wall is a poster of the 10th successful launch of this rocket, part of the space program up in Alaska in 2006. That was when I was first introduced to, nonprofit concepts. I was a wee little lass. I was young, and I was brought in on a project handling the entertainment side of a long-term project. It went on for months, and it was to raise funds for a nonprofit in Alaska where it was either a board member or it was the executive director. I'm not sure, but basically they had spent all the money, and when people realized what had happened, they were like, oh my gosh, this place is going to close down. So there was this massive long-term fundraising project, and I oversaw these children who were a part of it for months. They did radio, live. I think there was filmed stuff. It was pretty cool, multifaceted, and the kids were in these little space suits because it was part of the space program, and they were like little astronauts, and they got to perform live at this gala. And Sarah Palin was the governor. She had been governor for 1 week, and she was in the front row, and the kids were really excited. So that's my little story about my first introduction to the nonprofit world, and it was to help raise money for a nonprofit that had lost all of its money because somebody had blown it all. So let's see what this lady, Ivy, has to say. I thought it was going to play automatically. All right, applied thinking. As you watch the video, consider the following. As you consider joining a board, think about your skill sets and knowledge of finance. Do you need to learn more to become an effective and responsible board member? And let's put this on 1.25 and we'll see how fast she talks. I like to listen to things fast. My brain doesn't like slow.
Hello, I'm Ivy Walker, founder of AskCoda. Financial risk is a broad topic, one that encompasses multiple aspects of your organization. In this video, we are going to focus on 2 critical components of financial risk that every nonprofit board member needs to be aware of: fraud risk and financial mismanagement risk. Fraud and financial mismanagement not only threaten the financial health of your organization, but also its reputation and ability to fulfill its mission. Today, we'll define these risks, explore why nonprofits are particularly vulnerable to them, and discuss what you as a board member can do to mitigate them. To begin, let's define fraud risk. Fraud risk refers to the potential for financial loss due to intentional acts of deceit or theft by employees, volunteers, or even external parties. This could include embezzlement, falsifying financial records, or the misuse of funds or other organizational assets. Fraud is a significant concern for nonprofits. According to a New York Times study, fraud accounts for $40 billion to $50 billion per year in losses at U.S. nonprofits, and up to
Jeez.
20% of nonprofits are victims of fraud each year. This is particularly concerning because many nonprofits operate on tight budgets, where even a small financial loss can have a big impact. Financial mismanagement refers to the improper or inefficient handling of an organization's financial resources. Unlike fraud, which involves intentional wrongdoing, financial mismanagement often occurs due to a lack of knowledge, poor oversight, or inadequate financial controls. This might include poor budgeting, failure to monitor expenses, or inadequate financial reporting. Financial mismanagement can lead to cash flow problems, loss of donor confidence, and insolvency. Now that we have a better understanding of what these risks are, let's explore how they can arise in a nonprofit. One of the primary sources of both fraud and financial mismanagement risk is a lack of strong internal controls. Examples of weak internal controls include inadequate segregation of duties, lack of appropriate oversight, and insufficient financial policies. Without proper checks and balances, the opportunity for fraud increases, and financial errors are more likely to go unnoticed. Another source of this risk derives from limited financial expertise. Many nonprofits, particularly smaller ones, may not have the resources to hire experienced financial professionals. As a result, individuals who lack sufficient financial expertise can find themselves responsible for managing accounting and finance functions, increasing the risk of mismanagement. An often overlooked source of this kind of risk is the fact that nonprofits tend.
Anecdotally, I'll just add my little 2 cents. Um, yeah, I remember I was working for a nonprofit and I would do a lot of basically party planning for events. And um, I don't know if I want to say too much, if I want to go into details. You know how it is. Ew, somebody says ew. Well, ew to you too, dude. Or as the Big Lebowski would say, hey man, that's just like your opinion, man. And I don't quite quote it exactly. Hey little baby. Oh, you're so sweet. But, anyways, finances. Yeah. When you're putting on an event and you're spending X amount of dollars and then the event only generates Y amount of dollars, and you have to point out to people that the Z doesn't make sense. Yeah, money management. Woohoo! It's fun.
To be high trust environments. Nonprofits operate in a culture of trust and mission driven passion. While this is a positive attribute, it can also be a weakness. High trust environments may lead to lax oversight, where board members and staff assume that fraud could never happen within their organization. It's important to remember that trust is not an internal control. Larger nonprofits may have an additional source of financial risk to consider: complex funding sources. Having multiple complex funding streams, including grants, donations, and government contracts, each with its own set of restrictions and reporting requirements, can be challenging and increases the likelihood of mismanagement if robust financial management systems are not in place. So, why is it that nonprofits are particularly vulnerable to these risks? Here are 3 reasons to consider. Resource constraints. Many nonprofits operate with limited resources, including staffing and technology. This can make it difficult to implement and maintain strong internal controls or invest in financial management training. Mission focus. Nonprofits are mission driven, and sometimes the focus on achieving program goals can overshadow the importance of financial oversight. When resources are stretched thin, financial management can take a back seat, increasing the risk of both fraud and mismanagement. Public trust and reputation. Nonprofits depend heavily on public trust and donor confidence. A single instance of fraud or financial mismanagement can have a devastating impact on an organization's reputation, leading to a loss of funding and support. What can you, as a board member, do to help protect your nonprofit from fraud and financial mismanagement? Here are a few things to consider. First, ensure that your nonprofit has robust internal controls in place. This includes segregating duties so that no one individual has control over all aspects of financial transactions. This also includes regularly reviewing financial statements and conducting independent audits. Second, the board should look for ways to enhance its financial oversight. As a board member, you should actively participate in financial oversight by regularly reviewing financial reports, asking critical questions, and ensuring that the organization has the financial expertise it needs, either through staff or external consultants. Third, it's important to promote a culture of accountability. Foster an organizational culture where transparency and accountability are prioritized. Encourage a speak up culture where staff members feel comfortable sharing concerns or observations, and make sure that the organization's policies support this. Also ensure that there are clear channels for reporting suspicious activity without fear of retaliation. Fourth, ensure that board members and staff receive adequate financial management training. This training should cover basic financial principles such as understanding financial statements and the importance of internal controls. And finally, regularly review and update policies. Financial policies should not be static. The board should make it a priority to review and update your organization's financial policies and procedures to ensure they remain effective in mitigating risk. By taking these steps, you can help to significantly reduce the risk of fraud and financial mismanagement in your nonprofit. As a board member, you have a fiduciary duty to protect the assets and reputation of your organization. Strong financial oversight isn't just about preventing losses. It's about ensuring that your nonprofit can continue to achieve its mission and make a positive impact in the community.
Thanks, Ivy. All right, on to the next video. Going back. Doo-doo-doo. What every board member should know: branding and marketing risk. Explore the top 5 areas where mistakes can happen in branding and marketing, specifically areas where board members can help with strategic guidance while the nonprofit staff manage the tactics. Kevin, that's an interesting name, M.A.K.E. Applied thinking. As you watch the video, consider the following. What branding and/or marketing risks can you envision for a nonprofit organization, and how can you, as a board member, support the staff as they do the branding and marketing work of the organization? I don't really have any thoughts about this. I'm quite curious. Curious as to what they're going to talk about. Here we go. Kevin! Hey, baby. Oh, did I disturb you? Did I say that too loud? Here we go, baby. Little angel.
Hello, I'm Kevin M.A.K.E. I'm professor of marketing at Northwestern's Kellogg School of Management. In this video, I want to quickly cover the top 5 areas where I see the most mistakes in branding and marketing. I also specifically chose...
I can speed him up. I'll put the link so you can watch this program, this course yourself if you want to watch it at regular speed. But I like things at fast speed.
Areas that a board member could intersect and improve chances for success while the staff team manages the actual tactics. Now, number 1, naming, the traditional brand of the organization. Brand names live on a spectrum from what we call descriptive to evocative. Now, a descriptive name would be a name like Frosted Flakes, Toys for Tots, or the Greater Chicago Food Depository. Now, these descriptive names convey exactly what the product is or the nonprofit does without needing...
I'm gonna guess that what he's talking about is that for a nonprofit, you need to be really specific in your name. That's what I was told. I think it's actually technically like, I don't know, it's not a law, but no, you know what? I was reading about Alaska nonprofits on their website, and it was the state law. I think it did say something about how the name needs to really clearly communicate what they do. So let's see what he says.
Any additional information. The other end of the spectrum we call evocative. Names like Cheerios, Apple, M.A.K.E. This is a unique name that relies on our audience's knowledge of the brand. Now, there's a trade-off in choosing between descriptive and evocative. Descriptive conveys information, but is less ownable. It can be imitated and can feel constraining as an organization expands their offering. We do more than X. Now, evocative is appealing because once it's established, it's ownable and differentiated. But it requires support to build meaning into to that name. Now here's the key watch out. There is a trend to rebrand from descriptive to evocative. A recent example is the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation moving to the new name Breakthrough T1D, right? From descriptive to evocative. Now, make sure the team understands the ramifications. What is the awareness level of the current name? And then what is the plan to reach these levels of brand awareness and positive associations with the new name? A brand is like a cup. It's full of associations. When you rename the brand, you have to refill the cup. A descriptive name helps immediately add meaning to the cup. An evocative name will require that cup to be filled. Number 2, data collection and privacy. Now, the future of marketing is in data. This will be mostly data about your current donors and constituents. We use this data to help us deliver the exact right message or experience at the right time in the right places. The capabilities enabled by data are growing and becoming more accessible to more organizations. Your organization should be prepared to embrace this if they aren't already. But with that, we must make sure that our teams are collecting and protecting the data in the right ways. I worked with a firm that was very proud that they collected over 2 million email addresses from customers. But after a quick check by our data science team, we found that only 100,000 of them were collected with the appropriate permissions and therefore usable. Data privacy laws are always evolving and can differ from region to region. Here are 5 P's of ethical data handling from the Harvard Business Review for the team to think about. First, provenance. Did we acquire this data legally according to the laws of that region? Did we have the right opt-in boxes, etc.? Number 2, purpose. Would the sources of this data be okay with how we are now using it? 3, protection. Are we storing things like personal data and credit cards in a secure way? 4, privacy. Who has access to the data, either within our organization or among our partners? And finally, number 5, preparation. How are we ensuring the validity of the data we capture? So here's your watch out. Make sure that the team has a data privacy and protection plan in place, and make sure that the data that they already have was collected with the right permissions. You can always go back and ask for the permissions. All right, now moving to our third big point. Have a content plan. Now, this might seem both silly and obvious that we would need to have a plan, but with the rise of communication channels, organizations are creating content all the time across emails, the site, and social channels. This is frequently done ad hoc. There's an event, put it on social. We received an award, put it in the email. Now, this disorganization can lead to us bombarding our audiences with subpar communications. The solution is to create a content strategy that guides our messaging. This content plan identifies the most important overarching message that we want to convey consistently about our organization. And below that, we have the 4 to 6 areas of specific messaging focus. These specific areas are called content pillars. The idea is that every communication piece will align with a content pillar, support the overarching message, and with that focus, we'll be able to have greater impact. And here's your watch out. Ad hoc content is at best wasteful, inefficient, and resource saving. Make sure the teams have an organized plan for communications. And now, our 4th major issue, as we move more strategic, consistency. There's a piece of research from Professor Donald Hammond that's nicknamed, "What fires together, wires together." Basically, the more often that people are exposed to 2 things together, the stronger the association in our mind becomes. This could be something big, like Michael Jordan, Nike, Corona beer in the line or the beach. It could be a benefit, like safety and Volvo. It can even be the colors of the McDonald's logo. The basic idea is that anything we do related to marketing our brand will become more powerful the more consistently we reinforce it. Now, working against this is the simple truth that marketers become tired of their work before their audience does, which means there's frequently a lack of patience or an internal drive to refresh the brand every couple of years. Refreshing is okay, but what are the elements that should stay consistent? What are the elements of imagery, colors, messaging, sounds that we want to remain consistent and drive meaningful associations with? Here's your watch out. Guard against efforts to change for change's sake, and ask the team to identify the most important brand elements that they wish to build and maintain for the long term. And number 5, prioritization. Earlier in my career, I ran several multi-$100-million brands. The constant battle was prioritization. Even with millions to spend on advertising, we could water down the impact through lack of focus. The essence of strategy is simply prioritization, choosing what not to do. Where will we choose to spend our limited time and resources to create the greatest impact? If there was one issue that was the most common problem across organizations of all sizes, it is this: you cannot do everything well. Your watch out? Look for simplicity and clarity in the plans of your teams. Ask about these 3 areas. First, how are we prioritizing our organization's goals? What does success look like? Why? Number 2, how are we prioritizing audiences? What are the specific groups of people most likely to respond positively to our efforts? Are we spending equal amounts of time chasing all donor types, or focusing on the ones most likely to help us achieve our goals? And then 3, how are we prioritizing our messaging? What is the most important reason that someone will choose us? Are we trying to say 10 things or 1 thing? Now, as you've heard in other videos, the board operates at a strategic level. while the staff manages the details. This is certainly true in branding and marketing. Your strategic guidance in these areas will help your staff navigate the most common areas where we see organizations struggle in both for-profit and nonprofit. Hopefully, with these tips, you'll help guide your organization to greater success. Thanks for watching.
That was some very good info. Gave me lots of thoughts from past experiences, that's for sure. What every board member should know: cyber risks. Learning about cybersecurity and how it can be different from other risks that a nonprofit organization may encounter. Understand how board members can better understand and be ready for cyber attacks against their organizations. Applied thinking. As you watch the video, consider the following. Based on what you learned in this video, do you think you are prepared for a cyber attack at a nonprofit organization? Think about and identify potential third-party providers in your area that can support your organization in the event of a cyber attack. Boom, boom, boom. John Livingston.
Hello there, my name is John Livingston. I'm the former CEO of Verve Industrial Protection, a cybersecurity company focused on industrial control systems. I'm here to talk to you today about cybersecurity and how to address cyber risks as a nonprofit organization. Why is this type of risk different from some of the other risks you might be facing as an organization? Number two, we'll talk about what are the potential amount at stake here, so what's really at risk. And then finally, I'll run through three key themes that you can do to take it to address the risks of cyber. So first of all, cyber is a very, very different set of risks that you might have experienced in other parts of your organization. Cyber risks are the only type of risk where there is an actual other party targeting you, meaning they are actively trying to disrupt your operations. Storms, while sometimes being named, fire, supply chains, they're not specifically targeting you. They're not innovating on the side, trying to figure out new ways of getting you. Cyber attackers are. As a result of this, the number of attacks are growing each and every year. And in fact, you don't even have to be the specific target of an attack to be significantly impacted. The statistics say that roughly 40% of small businesses that are hit by a cyber attack never recover because they don't have the resources or the plans of how would they recover. They don't have the capital to be able to stand up a whole new set of IT infrastructure. And so as we think about how to think about this as a nonprofit organization, we are going to have to deal with it in a similar way. I've been on the boards of multiple nonprofits, and in almost every case, we are challenged for resources. And so as you think about this challenge, I would put forth three suggestions for you that are practical things that you can potentially get started on tomorrow. There are things that you can do as a nonprofit organization given the resources. So number one is backups and recovery. So in any perfect defense, there will be gaps, and therefore an attacker can get through. And so before you start building defenses, the first thing to do is to know, if I am attacked, if I have an incident, how do I recover? And there's a range of things you can do. So number one, ensuring that your team has backed up their data and their systems. Number two, doing annual tabletop exercises, meaning scenarios where you assume that an attacker came in. What do you do about it? What does the organization do? How do you respond? Ensuring you have clear ownership of the response. Oftentimes we use third parties, and I'll talk about that. Making sure you know who's accountable for what. So first point, it is almost impossible to stop every attack. So make sure you have a response and recovery strategy in place. Second, nonprofit organizations are not large enough in most cases to have a full-time chief information security officer or information security staff. So heavily leveraging third parties to help you through this journey is critical. There are literally hundreds, if not thousands, of firms that can help. Finding the right one is challenging. So I would suggest you look for three things as you try and pick a partner. First, look for somebody that provides an integrated offering that can bring together the different elements of security into one service offering. Oftentimes, an individual service provider might provide one particular thing like disaster recovery or incident response or vulnerability management, and you end up trying to manage multiple third parties. My strong suggestion is pick one that can bring those pieces together so you're not trying to also manage each of these people during the process. Number two, find an organization that has experience with the cybersecurity tools that you are already using, or alternatively, that bring a deep experience in a particular set of tools. What we know is that each of these cyber tools has a different expertise. And if that managed service provider doesn't understand that particular tool, they will not be successful in helping you. So ensuring that if you select the tools already, find a service provider that knows those, or alternatively, go with the tools that the service provider selects. And then third, pick a firm that knows your industry. Cyber in a hospital is very different from school, is very different from an emergency management organization where you have a lot of critical infrastructure that you're managing. And so making sure your partner understands the particular challenges that you have in your industry. So as you think about partners, many nonprofits will be leveraging technology currently provided by Microsoft or Amazon Web Services or other cloud providers. The great news is these organizations provide terrific cybersecurity capabilities themselves. They're investing literally hundreds of millions of dollars in cyber every year. Therefore, leverage the capabilities that they have, ask them to help you secure your environment, because in many cases, they have it already included in their products for free. Third and finally, find a cyber insurance security broker that you can trust and rely on. Cybersecurity insurance is one of the most valuable tools or weapons in your arsenal of defense. In case of an incident, you need to be able to have insurance that you can rely on to be able to pay a ransomware incident or to recover if you need to do that from an IT point of view. Cybersecurity insurance is a challenging market. It's tough to know what you're getting coverage for. So as a board, find a broker that you trust that really understands cyber and what you're covered for and what you're not. Because if you have an incident, you are going to be dependent and reliant on that insurance coverage at the end of the day. Remember, cyber is only one component of a broader disaster recovery and risk management IT strategy. We need to think about our whole IT risk management strategy holistically, with security being a core element of that, but also thinking about the IT components as all the updating and backups, et cetera, that we need more broadly than just in the security realm. As a board member, you obviously aren't a cybersecurity expert, and in very few cases of nonprofit boards is there a cyber expert as a member of that board. It's just not enough people to go around that really understand this space. Therefore, what can you do? Well, number one, ensuring that you're clear about ownership for those suggested ideas I had earlier. Who owns this within the company or the organization? And then secondly, personally as a board, interacting with your third-party provider, making sure you're testing and asking questions about their governance structure, as well as ensuring that they're giving you exactly what you expect. The great news is there is help. For more information, you can go to government resources, Department of Homeland Security here in the United States, and frankly in other governments around the world. There's a lot of support. We like to say, these are your tax dollars at work. You might as well use them. They really want to help, particularly smaller organizations, survive against these cyber attackers. I know this is a challenging part of being a board member, a challenging part of governance. But with the resources that are available from governments and other organizations, and hopefully with a few ideas I gave you today, you can start to make progress on improving the protection of your particular organization. Thanks so much for your time.
That is so depressing. It is so depressing that you have to worry about that. That's probably, like, out of this whole course, the most depressing video I've seen. We shouldn't have to worry about that, but we do, right? What every board member should know: human resources risk. Explore the board's role in understanding and mitigating human resources risk for a nonprofit organization, including defining HR risk, identifying common sources of HR risk, and the importance of HR audits. As you watch the video, consider the following. What human resources risks have you encountered in your workplace? How can you use what you learned in those situations to better support a nonprofit organization as a board member? There we go.
Hello, my name is Ivy Walker, founder of AskCoda. As a board member, you play a critical role in helping to ensure the overall health and sustainability of your organization. And part of that responsibility includes understanding and managing human resources risk. In this video, we'll cover what HR risk is, some common sources of HR risk, the importance of HR audits, and your role in supporting your organization in this vital risk management activity while respecting the line between governance and operations. So let's begin with this question. What exactly is HR risk? HR risk refers to the potential for financial, legal, or reputational damage arising from issues related to the management of human resources within an organization. This can include everything from compliance with labor laws and managing employee relations to ensuring workplace safety and the proper handling of worker classification. Essentially, HR risk is any threat to the organization that stems from how people are managed, treated, or governed within the workplace. There are several common sources of HR risk in nonprofit organizations of which you should be aware. The first one we'll touch on is risk that can arise from the misclassification of employees. Should an employee be classified as exempt or non-exempt under the Fair Labor Standards Act, also known as FLSA? Might an individual you classified as an independent contractor actually be considered an employee under the applicable laws? Misclassifying employees as independent contractors or getting the exempt versus non-exempt status wrong can lead to significant legal and financial consequences. Complicating things further, the rules can differ between the federal and state levels. Next, we have risks that can arise from your organization's workplace culture. Harassment, discrimination, and a lack of inclusivity can not only create a toxic work environment, but can also expose your organization to significant liability. Additionally, an organization that has an unhealthy or toxic workplace culture will also lack alignment with its mission, which will negatively impact both its credibility and its effectiveness. Then there's risk stemming from legal compliance or the lack thereof. This includes adherence to labor laws, employment regulations, and workplace safety standards. Non-compliance can result in lawsuits, fines, and damage to your organization's reputation. If your organization leverages volunteers, the way you manage and protect them can be a source of risk. It's important that there are policies and processes in place ensuring that they are properly trained and that your policies cover their activities. And finally, leadership transitions can pose a substantial risk to the organization. A lack of planning for leadership changes can result in disruptions, loss of institutional knowledge, and potential operational chaos. When thinking about HR risk, it's important to note how an organization's size can impact HR risk factors. For example, in smaller organizations, there may not be an individual whose job is exclusively HR management. It may be one of multiple responsibilities on an employee's plate. Additionally, the individual in charge of HR may not have much prior experience in this area. Scenarios such as these significantly increase the likelihood that the organization will fall short in HR management and should be carefully monitored and evaluated. While it is unlikely that these scenarios would exist in larger, better resourced nonprofits, large organizations are no less immune to HR compliance issues, particularly in times like these when changes to FLSA, other labor laws, and minimum wage rules are coming into effect and can be different at the city, county, state, and federal level. So how do you manage these risks? One effective tool is an HR audit. An HR audit is a comprehensive review of your organization's human resources policies, practices, and procedures. The goal is to identify any areas of risk and ensure that your HR practices are compliant with legal standards and aligned with best practices. 3 ways in which an HR audit can help your organization include identifying gaps in compliance. An HR audit will highlight areas where your organization may be falling short in terms of legal requirements, such as wage and hour laws, employee classification, or safety regulations. Assessing the effectiveness of HR policies. An audit can determine whether your existing HR policies are adequate and effective in managing and mitigating risk. This includes looking at policies related to harassment, discrimination, and employee relations. Improving HR processes. By reviewing your current HR processes, an audit can help streamline operations, improve employee satisfaction, and reduce the potential for errors or oversights that can lead to risk. A note about governance versus operations. As a board member, it's important to remember that your role is governance, not operations. This distinction is crucial. Your job is to ensure that the organization has the right policies and practices in place to manage HR risk effectively. But it's also important that you don't overstep into the operational side of HR management. You can support your organization in identifying and managing HR risk without crossing the line by helping to ensure that the organization has strong policies in place. The board should review these policies periodically and ensure that they're updated as needed to comply with new laws or changes in the organization's operations. Encourage the organization to conduct regular HR audits and use the findings to make informed decisions. Your role is to ensure that these audits happen and that the results are acted upon, not to manage the process itself. Finally, keep an eye on HR risk indicators such as turnover rates, employee satisfaction surveys, and compliance reports. Use this information to ask the right questions and guide the organization in the right direction. Remember, managing HR risk is essential to protecting your nonprofit's mission, reputation, and resources. As a board member, your oversight and strategic guidance are key to ensuring that your organization is not only compliant with the law, but also a great place to work and volunteer.
I was yawning a lot through that one. HR. Ugh. That's all I'll say about that. Ugh. Gosh, I got a weird itch. What every board member should know: leadership risk. Learn how the board can ensure effective governance through comprehensive personnel policies that reflect an organization's values and protect the organization, including whistleblower policies and emergency succession planning. What questions should be on the CEO or executive director's annual evaluation?
Sparrow, and I'm the founder and principal at Short Path Consulting. In this video, we're going to talk about leadership risk and how the board can ensure effective governance through comprehensive personnel policies and emergency succession planning. Personnel policies are the foundation of the relationship between an organization and its employees. These policies set clear expectations, ensuring consistency, compliance with legal standards, and a positive work environment. Personnel policies cover a variety of areas, including hiring practices, workplace conduct, compensation and benefits, performance management, health and safety protocols, anti-discrimination and harassment policies, and dispute resolution procedures. Many boards focus on how personnel policies reflect an organization's values. For example, a generous PTO policy may showcase the organization's commitment to its staff. But in addition to serving as a reflection of the organization's values, personnel policies should also serve another purpose: protecting the nonprofit. Even in nonprofits with positive environments and aligned teams, things can go wrong. Relationships can sour, misunderstandings happen, and trust can break down. Personnel policies act as a safety net when these challenges arise. At the most basic governance level, the board has a responsibility to ensure compliance with employment laws, which change frequently. To stay compliant, boards should establish a process for regular policy reviews. This might involve utilizing an outside HR management firm or leveraging expertise from within the board itself. Once policies are established, the board's role is to provide input and oversight, ensuring that the policies remain relevant and aligned with the organization's mission. It's the CEO or executive director's job to implement these policies effectively, creating the conditions for a high-performing team and a thriving organization. Now let's talk about a policy that's often overlooked, a whistleblower policy, which might be a part of your personnel policy or a standalone document within your organization. A whistleblower policy protects individuals who report inappropriate or illegal activities within the organization. Now, we often associate whistleblowing with exposing corporate wrongdoing or public harm. But the truth is, bad actors can and do operate within nonprofits. A whistleblower policy is essential for addressing and mitigating issues that could harm the organization's integrity, operations, or reputation. In some jurisdictions, having a written whistleblower policy may also be a legal requirement. Let's go through some situations where such a policy might be utilized in a nonprofit setting. Financial misconduct, such as fraud, misuse of funds, improper accounting practices, or personal kickbacks. Workplace misconduct and legal violations, such as harassment, discrimination, or failure to comply with employment laws and charitable regulations. Ethical violations, such as conflicts of interest or behaviors that contradict the organization's mission. Program mismanagement, including gross negligence, abuse, or harm to program participants. Safety and security concerns, such as unsafe work environments or data breaches. And finally, governance failures, including negligence or malfeasance by board members. Given these risks, a whistleblower policy is critical for nonprofits. By providing a formal mechanism for employees and volunteers to safely report concerns without fear of retaliation, it ensures the nonprofit can address them quickly and effectively while protecting its integrity. Typically, a board member, such as the board or governance chair, serves as the point of contact for whistleblowers, and this should be clearly outlined in the policy. Everyone should know what to expect when raising a concern, fostering a culture where people feel safe to speak up if they believe wrongdoing has taken place. Overall, while creating this policy is certainly an administrative best practice, it should also help bring some peace of mind to your board, because you're helping safeguard the organization's long-term health and reputation. Scandals or unethical behavior can severely damage a nonprofit's credibility, and legal disputes can lead to significant costs and liabilities. A clear and proactive whistleblower policy minimizes these risks, ensuring the organization remains trustworthy and strong. Finally, let's talk about emergency succession planning. It's one of those tasks that can easily get pushed aside. After all, you might have a CEO or executive director who seems fully committed to the job, and it's hard to imagine the organization without them. But unexpected events do happen. Your CEO might receive an incredible job offer, face personal circumstances that require relocation, or experience severe burnout, an unfortunate reality in the nonprofit world that forces an immediate resignation. For nonprofits, disruptions in leadership can be particularly risky. Organizations often serve vulnerable populations or provide critical services, and any gap in leadership could jeopardize those efforts. That's why having an emergency succession plan is so important. It ensures operations can continue smoothly during unexpected changes, allowing the organization to maintain its impact and stability. Leadership transitions can also create uncertainty for funders, partners, and other external stakeholders. A clear plan provides direction, reduces confusion, and reassures everyone that the organization is prepared to handle challenges. And it's not just about external stakeholders. Staff members need reassurance too. A leadership void can lead to anxiety or even power struggles, but with a clear chain of command, employees feel secure about their roles and responsibilities even during a transition. An emergency succession plan also prevents rush decisions by the board. Without one, boards may feel pressured to hire a permanent leader too quickly, increasing the likelihood of making the wrong choice. Having an interim leader in place gives the board time to thoughtfully identify the best candidate for the long term. The board, often led by the executive or governance committee, plays a vital role here. They should develop an emergency succession plan for the CEO, identifying what circumstances will trigger the plan, who the designated emergency successor is, and the terms of their role. The board should also ensure the CEO has similar plans in place for the other key leadership positions. A strong emergency succession plan doesn't just prepare your nonprofit for the unexpected. It demonstrates a commitment to the organization's mission and the people who rely on it. It acknowledges the reality that there may not always be time for a carefully planned handoff, and ensures that those who depend on your services aren't left facing unnecessary turbulence due to a lack of preparation. I hope this video has inspired you to think more strategically about leadership risk and how to build resilience into your organization through effective governance. Now it's your turn. Start a conversation with your board about the steps you can take today to safeguard your nonprofit's future.
Smooshy, we're almost done with this segment. Sweet girl. Oh, we Nope, leadership risk. Now we are at what every board member should know, CEO evaluation. Explore the board staff working dynamic, including the evaluation of the CEO or executive director and the board's role or relationship with the staff. What questions should be on the CEO or executive director's annual evaluation? Huh. I thought maybe we already did. I thought they already asked that. Did I miss something? We'll find out.
Hello, my name is Michael Miro, and I'm the founder and principal at Short Path Consulting. In this video, we're going to talk about leadership risk and how the board can ensure effective governance through comprehensive personnel policies and emergency succession planning.
We already
Personnel
talked
policies
about
are the
that.
foundation of the relationship between
So-
the organization and its employees. These policies set clear expectations,
Did I
ensuring
go
consistency,
back?
compliance with.
Let's go back. Maybe I missed it. Maybe it was this one. See. Yeah. Let's click this one. I think I might see a little video typo. Yeah, they have two different videos, different titles.
As a reflection of an organization's values, personnel policies should also serve another purpose: protecting the non or external stakeholders.
Huh.
A clear plan provides direction,
Okay,
reduces
so
confusion,
that's a little
and reassures
typo on their
everyone
part.
that the organization is prepared to handle challenges.
That back here, you have CEO evaluation and leadership risk, and they're the same videos. That's unfortunate. All right, well, I'm going to end this one. Thanks so much, Amanda with M.A.K.E Alaska. Have a wonderful day. I'm going to stop this recording. And then I'm going to start over a new live stream as we do the very last segment. Woo! We did it. We're almost done with this thing. How awesome is that?